Hi everyone. Today I have the lovely Gabby on my podcast. Gabby, I met at the Inspired Souls Business Networking Group. You're actually the third person I've had on the podcast from this one call that I went in this group, which just shows the ripple effect of going to one thing that you feel drawn to and meeting aligned people. But I'm so excited to have Gabby here today. Not only on the call did I feel drawn to you straight away, but then we got separated into rooms together and me and Gabby were put together and I was like, this is obviously meant to be. We both support people with kind of like discovering their purpose, but in different ways. And I'm so excited for you to share all about the soul plan today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited, Effy, just to connect with you again and just share everything that is Soul Plan because I love it. And it's great to talk with someone where it's just going to align and resonate so much. So, yeah, super excited.
Love that. Do you want to like, give a little introduction into who you are, how you got into Soul Plan, what it is as well for people who have never heard of it before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I share first of all kind of how Soul Plan sort of came into my life and obviously impacted my life. So I first was introduced to Soul Plan in September 2021, so just over 4 years ago. I was in a time, and I had been for a period of time, and I think this is quite common. I'd been in a real period of transition. The end of 2018, I had left my job and my partner that I was in a relationship with in the same week. um, and was suddenly faced with that sort of question of now I didn't have any external kind of roles or responsibilities from both a love, relationship and work perspective. Like, who was I? Who did I want to be? And I was suddenly faced with that question of like, I don't know. Like, I suddenly realized how much of my life had been about fitting into the external world and meeting everybody's expectations, who I thought I should be, rather than really feeling connected. So I went on a bit of a journey. And first of all, it was just like, I'm just going to see where life takes me. So I went from a very corporate job into painting and decorating, which was really random. And everyone around me was like, what? But it just worked. And I just lent into it. And then, kind of over COVID, I got introduced to the Holistic Healing College, and it really resonated for me. Uh, and it's the Holistic Healing College where I came to study spiritual counseling, and part of that was Soul Plan. And Soul Plan was one of the first modules. And when I did the Soul Plan module and I saw my Soul Plan and I got to understand what it all meant, I was like, this is me. It was almost like I had a reflection back of myself, not only then, but past self, future self. And it was just one of those where I was just like, oh, yes, this is me. And that's what I love about Soul Plan. It's very energy based. So it's the energetic vibration of your birth name. So, and it, yeah, so it's super powerful. And what I love about it is obviously we have astrology and human design that looks at our place of birth, kind of on our time and when we came in and all of the planetary alignments. But this really looks at our birth name. So it's like another layer, and it's a beautiful layer.
I'm so
But
excited.
I know, and I'm going to share yours because today, which is going to be exciting. But the history behind it. So Soul Plan has its roots in kind of ancient Hebrew text. So Frank Alper, who created or channeled the soul plan energies, brought them to life, brought them into our world. He'd studied a lot of ancient Jewish and Hebrew text. He'd looked at the Sefer Yetzirah, which is the Book of Formation, and he had a real understanding of like the Hebrew numerology, so geometria. So in Hebrew, they place a lot of emphasis on turning the words into numbers and sounds and vibrations. So the soul plan in its roots translates our birth name into the Hebrew alphabet. And then from there, we then align all of the numbers around a star of creation. And I'll share your star of creation in a moment, Ellie. Effy. And and it's and from there we then get to see all of the different aspects of ourselves. uh, so it's this beautiful, there are 22 energies that come into play. And we have 6 energies that sit around our star of creation, and then our soul destiny that sits in the middle. So Frank did a lot of the work. He created the energies, the symbols, gave them meaning, and then Blue Marsden, who set up and runs the Holistic Healing College, took on the work of Frank and just developed it, adding things like affirmations, soul messages. He introduced soul transformation therapy, which takes the energies on another level, just really bringing it into this lifetime and to our world now. And it's all about helping us with this energetic transition that we're all experiencing right now. Any of us that are open to energy and spirit or soul or that connection can really feel that we're in that transitionary period. And it's just really to help support us and just give us that greater sense of beingness and aligning us with who we are and our soul purpose.
That's what I really feel like we're all here to do is remember who we are,
Yeah.
remember why we came, and yeah, get rid of all of the things that we felt like we should do or we have to do. And when you were sharing earlier around like your breakup and finishing your job within the same week, like that is a lot. But so many people go through these periods of, hardship, and it does feel like a loss of identity. Like, oh, if I'm not this person's partner, if I don't have this job, if I don't have this amount of money, or if I don't live in this
Yeah.
place, like, what does that mean? Like, who actually am I? And it's knowing that you are you through it all, and a lot of the time it is remembering. And a lot of people, but when they go through the struggle, that's the time when they think, oh, now I do want to do this deep inner internal work and like find out who I am. And it is the most rewarding thing you can ever do. Anytime that I've dived into any of these tools, I do feel like it's like a remembering, and like it's almost like a permission slip to just be you and do what works for you. And I feel like you just get so much insight. I'm really excited about the soul plan though, because I actually really don't know much about it at all. Until I'd met you, I didn't know anything. And yeah, all I know is that my like is like the basic meaning of my name, but from like Google,
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the reason why Soul Plan looks at the birth name is because it's our first point of human identity. Obviously, as I said, astrology and human design will look at kind of how everything's aligned as we come in. But the name we're given, I mean, I do feel very much that our soul gives out a signal as to what we want to be called. And I always share that my mum and dad were going to call me Stephanie. Um, and my mum decided against it because she didn't like Steph. So they called me Gabrielle instead. And then she had to live with Gabs growing up, which didn't resonate very well. She thought it would be Gabby, but yeah, there's a lot of Gabs going on in my life. But for me, that sense of Gabrielle, and she doesn't even really know, it was just something that came through. And I do think that there are aspects to that. And we look at the birth name first and foremost, because that is the dominant vibration. Obviously, particularly as women, there's a strong chance we may change our name in our life. We may choose to change our name, and that can have an impact. It can cause some shifts in our soul plan, but for the most part, our birth name is our first sound. You think in religion of like the and the kind of the importance on that first sound. Our birth name is the first sound, and that vibration sort of carries forth with us
I don't
throughout
think
our life.
I don't think any name is by accident, even if people think,
Exactly.
oh, it just kind of came from nowhere or whatever else.
Yeah.
It does have an impact. And, in numerology, I think it's our destiny number that we get if we like look at the numbers that are related to the letters of our name, and that can tell us a lot about, our destiny in this lifetime. So I'm excited for you
Yeah,
to share the magic of my name.
yeah, absolutely. So this is what I'm going to be doing. So if I get to it, so as I said, I'm just going to share my screen, Effie, so that you can see yours.
Amazing.
I will obviously be mindful that people will be listening, so I will share. So
I
um,
love as well that obviously everyone calls me Effie, but my name is Ellen, Ellen Mary
yeah,
Finn,
indeed.
which I did share before with Gabby.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, and that's it. We can have nicknames, and that can have an impact. Like I feel very drawn. Like my business name, I will go back to Gabrielle and use that mainly because I know my soul plan, and I'm like, no, I like that that element to it. But yeah, so we've got your soul star of creation, your soul plan. So the energies here, if you almost like this is like a sacred symbol that's carrying an energetic vibration. And what I'm going to do is just give you a little bit of a flavor. So usually a full soul plan activation is like 90 minutes. I go in and out of someone's soul plan over about a 7-10 day period to really tune in and just see what comes through. So I've looked at yours and sort of gone intuitively, okay, what can I share in the time that we have together? When I do a full activation, I also do a grace clearing and activation at the end that just helps to get rid and release all of the redundant, stuck energy patterns. So shift some of the challenge aspects and really activate the talent and goal aspects of your soul plan to align you with your soul destiny. So for those that are listening, the star of creation is in effect the Star of David. So it's a 6-pointed star. You have a triangle that points downwards, and that's our worldly triangle. So this is typically at its most dominant, sort of from the ages up to about 35, 40. It can shift. If we lean into our spiritual side earlier on in life, then we'll bring that spiritual triangle through. But the worldly triangle is all really around our life growing up, career, early relationships, and the energies that will be at play at that time. I always say to people, your worldly triangle stays with you for as long as we're on this world. So it will always play a part. It's just maybe the spiritual triangle tends to come in. So that's the upward triangle, sort of from about the age of 30, 35, but it can come in sooner if we find ourselves tapping into those spiritual energies and that connection. We can draw it forth. And also sometimes an experience, kind of can also bring it around, whether that be a trauma, kind of a healing experience that will actually bring forth our spiritual triangle just to help support us at that time. So obviously we have 3 aspects to the triangle. So we have our challenge, and the worldly challenge will be what you're here to, the difficulties maybe sort of growing up, sort of challenge aspects, and where we get our most growth. And that's what I always say to people, like our challenges are actually our most powerful tool because they bring us so much learning and growth. The secret is learning how to awareness about them and shifting through them. And that's what our talent energies can do. So our worldly talent will be our natural ability. And Effy, I love that yours is the 10-1, and I'll come on to that in a second. But I'm like, yes, this is absolutely her talent energy. And then our goal, our worldly goal is kind of like our aspiration. So what our goal is, what's driving us forward. From a spiritual perspective, our spiritual challenge is almost like kind of what we're here to learn from a spiritual perspective. So our spiritual lesson, our spiritual talents will be what our spiritual gift and a kind of like abilities are, what we're here to share almost in service. And then our spiritual goals are kind of what's really driving our spirit forward, and our spiritual mission, like kind of what we're here to create. And then if you were to imagine, so you've got the 6 point of the star, if they all point inwards, they're all activated, then you have your soul destiny. So when I first look at someone's soul plan, I look for a couple of things. So one, I look to see what their dominant vibration is. So if the number appears more than once, and I have seen it sometimes 3, very rarely, but it does happen 4 times. But usually there's kind of, so here on Effie's, we've got the 9-9.
I was
So
going to say, I
9,
saw that immediately. 9-9 at
yeah,
the top, spiritual goals, and then
yeah,
9-9, soul destiny.
yeah. And what's beautiful is the reason why we're drawn together is that the 9-9 is my worldly talent. So this is why we're connecting. Absolutely. So yeah. So the 9-9 is your dominant vibration, and it's beautiful that it's your soul destiny as well, because this is like fully encompassed here. Like yes. I then look to see if there are any polarity energies. So within the 22 energies, there are 7 which have polarities. So there's always contrast in life. It's the human experience. It's what we're here to live for. We want the duality. It's why we've come here. Be if love and light is beautiful, but we only experience it by experiencing the darkness and the fear, like because we have to see both sides. And that's what the polarity energies are there for as well. So there are seven. There are actually two in your chart, Effie. So your worldly challenge, the 22 has a polarity associated with it. So what you might think, because it's in the challenge, is that you might get drawn into the challenge aspect of the polarity more. And I'll share what that is in a second. You also have a polarity in your spiritual talents. But because it's in your spiritual talents, the 22-4, you're more likely to be drawn to the positive aspect of it. Like you'll find it much easier to lean into that side. But it's just awareness of that. They are the energies that kind of can push and pull us a little bit. And we can feel both sides quite a lot, the contrast of those elements. The other thing is that I do a quick scan to see. So some of the numbers are double numbers. So we have the 5-5 in your chart. Effy is the spiritual challenge. The worldly goals is the 6-6, and the spiritual goals and the soul destiny is the 9-9. And then we have what we call where we've got the 22 and the 10-1 and the 22-4. So they're obviously got two numbers associated with the energy. So your worldly challenge is 20 and then has 2 associated with it. And then the worldly talent has 10 and then 1. Now you have a beautiful blend, which is great, because if we've got too many of the double numbers, we can be quite fixed. And if we have too many of the double, like kind of the two lots of numbers, then we can almost not have any direction and kind of feel quite unscattered. So when we have a really lovely blend, which you do, generally means that you can find direction in life quite quickly, and you could, but with that fluidity of being able to shift and kind of change and not feel rigid or limited in any way, which is beautiful.
I love this.
I know, so cool. So your worldly challenge, your 22. So as I said, this has a polarity. And the polarity with this energy is the terminal retribution complex, which in essence, short and sweet, is war and peace. So it's that internal, external imbalance, or conflict. So from this, I'm just getting that sense of just there being a real kind of like almost a little bit of an inner battle, like growing up and kind of holding on a lot to, I don't know. And with this energy as well, the desire to conform and to kind of fit in and almost, I want to say, be the good girl, which
I was 100% the good girl. And like, it's even something now. I'm like, yes, I feel like I'm doing like small rebellious acts, but I still find myself caught in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the conformity, so that kind of like got to stick to the rules, kind of got to sort of make sure I'm kind of conforming to everybody's expectations, also comes up in the spiritual challenge of the 5-5. So that for me was that kind of like that element of almost giving yourself away, like kind of disempowerment by following the rules and actually just having that sense of freedom coming through. Because in its essence, the 22 is movement, flow, and seeking. And the 2, so you can see there's a symbol that it's almost like waves, and it's that movement and flow, that ebb and flow. So it's going with the flow, not getting caught up. And the 2 aspect is the wisdom and support. So again, there can be this sort of like fear, and this comes up with the 5-5 as well, of like, don't want to make a fool of myself, like don't want to say the wrong thing. And just kind of, and with that, the kind of like the rigidity of that and kind of needing to kind of live, how in expectation of everybody else and conforming, it does get you out of balance, and it does sort of feel quite out of alignment in terms of who you are, because in essence, you're being who you need to be for, to that feeling of wanting to fit in.
Starting a business has been the biggest initiation to being comfortable not fitting
Yeah.
into the norm and doing things differently. And yeah, I was so scared of saying things wrong at the start. I think oh, like what are people gonna think? Or are people going to tell me I'm wrong? Or there was definitely fears of that, but over time that's got less and less, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, nice. Love it. And the key with this and the worldly challenge energy, in order to activate it, right, and it is around movement, and that comes up with your 9-9 as well. So movement practices for you, Effie, like getting into your body, getting out. If you ever feel stuck in your head or anything, getting out and moving is like really key. It's not a case of sitting on the sofa and curling up. Okay, like sometimes we will, but the best medicine for you is at that point where you're just like, I just want to hide, and just like that is actually just to get up and get moving, dancing, whatever it is, because that will get you in flow. It will bring you energy. It's really powerful with your 9-9s. Like I'll come on to them, but they're such a catalytic energy. And to make sure that your 22 is like turned on in a positive way is all around finding that movement, seeing the joy, having that self-assurance, as you've just said, that confidence, leaning into that. And to do that, you can use your beautiful worldly talent. And you'll love this because your worldly talent is the 10-1, and it is potential manifestation. And I'm like, this is Effy, like all over. This is her. And I love it. And what this is, because this is all about the balancing of the masculine and feminine. It's being service orientated. It's being very attuned spiritually, like your spiritual connection, just really, really bringing that in, which is why I think, kind of you can shift so easy into that. But what this for me is that you have an innate understanding that to do or to receive, you have to be, and that kind of like that feminine energy of like, I have to feel into this, and I have to, kind of believe it and like kind of really embody it, and then it will come. And this is what comes from this. And you kind of the 10, I mean, you can see, so the symbol of the 10 always makes me smile because it is what it looks like. It is very much the masculine and feminine in terms of the genitalia kind of
Yes.
going there. And then the 1 is all about sort of bringing it together, so that unifying, and that's what it does. It's really high frequency. It makes excellent healer. And actually your vocal expression, and this is what you're doing in your business, is what then is enabling you, because you do have that ability when you lean into it and you feel into it, then it, kind of your ability to express, to almost, and to channel and to bring in, kind of is there. And what you're aspiring to, so your worldly goals, is the 6-6, which is thought and creativity. And this for you is just that sense of expansion of thought, like kind of what can I create? What can I bring? Like kind of this vision and expansion, like wanting to know more, wanting to feel and experience more in life and draw more to you. Getting really creative to seeing what you can bring in life. This is what sort of drives you. And when you have that alignment of your 10-1, and you're not kind of sticking to the rules, you're going with the flow and just sort of got that visionary feel to it, then that's what will really come. That, it will come and it will grow. What with the 6-6, the sort of the challenge aspect, and this will be certainly if you're wildly challenged, if you're out of flow, if you're out of alignment. Some things to be aware of with this energy is that kind of that sense of scattered energy. So kind of like this energy turned on, the 6-6, you can have like a Zen-like focus.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when we're learning to tune into this, we can feel a bit unfocused and scattered, and almost I would sort of recommend, like kind of if you're feeling like you've got lots and lots of ideas and you can sense that
Which
you're
I do.
just yeah you can get a bit scattered with that, and like kind of going, oh, which one, and it's just using your 10-1 ability to really sit with it and tune in. and go, which one feels most aligned right now?
Mhm.
And focusing in on that and, kind of there. And if, kind of after a period of time it doesn't resonate, then fine, shift, but just being really mindful to bring in that focus, and to kind of really, because that's the universe will flow the ideas and the thoughts and the creativity, and especially with your spiritual talent, which I'll come on to in a second. The other thing with this, and mainly it's because of that Zen light focused, is that the ability to become overworked and stressed is also there. So if we're trying to do too much, then it will immediately cloud our mind. And with the movement and flow, yeah, and especially with the 9-9 as well, like you'll become unstuck quite quickly. It'll happen, it will come to you quite quickly. Like all of a sudden you'll be go, 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 and then your energy will just go, no.
Yeah.
Stop.
And this is what like prompted my spiritual journey in 2020 was
Yeah,
I was burnt out. I was
yeah,
overdoing, I was so in my mind, overthinking,
yeah.
trying to do what I thought that I should do in a career that didn't serve me. And then that really got me on the journey of learning about my masculine and feminine energy. So it was obviously a journey I was meant to go on.
Absolutely. And I think it's just that awareness. And I always say with this, with the thought and creativity, sometimes we get stuck thinking that the answer needs to come from our mind.
Yeah.
Now, it does, or, kind of that's where our thoughts land, but it doesn't mean that that's where we find them. If we, that language that I've just used of thoughts landing, because it is about bringing it in and it's making sure that we have the space. And that again comes back to that embodiment and getting into the body, because that's then what gives the mind the kind of the sort of, you can tune out, you don't need to be thinking about anything, just focusing on this movement. And that's what then gives the space for the, kind of for the ideas, the aha and the ooh moments to come in.
That's
Like
also
happens like the showers.
That's also been one of my biggest challenges is getting out of the mind and into the body.
Yeah.
And it's something that like even last year when I went to a festival and I had like a Miri appointment, like a spiritual, I don't even know how to describe it, like energy healing session with like Maori people. And they were like, you need to get out of your mind and into your heart. And I'm like, this is what I've been doing for the last like 5 years, but it's just like an ongoing practice for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is for all of us. I don't know if you have ever listened to or connected with Abraham Hicks at all, but kind of when I listen to them, it like I remember what they share is that alignment is when you achieve alignment, you don't get a certificate and that's it. Like it's a daily practice, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that, you don't achieve it. It is the way of life. And the other aspect with the 6-6, and this can also come up through other aspects, is that kind of, especially with the 22, is the emotions of anger and frustration, and how you like ensure that they're not held on to, that it's not sort of silent anger and frustration, which can be quite tricky. But ensuring that there's some form of expression of those.
That resonates
You
too, because that's been
Yeah.
something I've been working on too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, kind of using, and it's why sometimes with things like that, I think practices like emotional freedom tapping or boundary tapping or anything, I do something called soul plan trauma release. And it's just that sense of just being able to vocalize and to let out the negative emotion whilst also keeping the body calm. Because one of the main reasons in this instance, and that I feel certainly with yourself, and especially with your 9-9s as well, is that how anger feels and frustration feels, both in your body, but also if it's expressed to you. Like, and there's a sort of a sense within you that you're like, I don't want someone to feel that way. So I don't want to express my anger or my frustration because I don't want to make the other person feel uncomfortable because I know how it feels. But in essence, we then end up holding on to it ourselves. It doesn't go anywhere. It just sort of sits and kind of unfortunately festers within the body. And again, that can just be that block, and it blocks us from getting into our body because actually our body feels quite tight and rigid and is out of alignment.
Yeah, well,
So
something that came to me about 18 months ago, I went to a bioresonance appointment, which is to do with like quantum physics. And they told me like, on the scale, like anger and frustration were quite high, as well as like grief. And I was like, I don't feel angry. And I realized then that I had had this belief that someone has to do something really bad to me for me to feel angry. Like someone would have had to cheated or do something really
yeah,
awful. And I wasn't allowing myself to feel angry for like the small things. And
yeah,
that was quite like a game changer moment for me where I was like, oh, like I can feel angry at that. I can feel angry. And then I've started noticing more and more since then. And yeah, allowing myself to be like, oh, my boundaries have been crossed in that way. And I want to communicate that to that person. And you can still do that in a loving, healthy way. It doesn't have to be,
totally.
I think we can have like negative what's it called? Connotations to anger. Anger is not a
Yeah,
negative emotion. Anger is
yeah,
perfectly like good,
yeah,
like emotion. We just need to know how to
yeah.
express it. And I think especially as women, we've not been taught that.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. I think it is that silent rage that, kind of is something that we've all learned. And I love that because with the 5-5, that what you're looking for with that is your spiritual challenge, like your spiritual lesson is about all around that balanced assertiveness and that kind of being able to speak up, to express, kind of how you feel, and and what it is that you want, and feeling very comfortable in that. With the 5-5 and the 10-1 are the highest spiritual frequency energies. And what can happen with the 5-5 as a challenge is that kind of ungrounded, like one is highly sensitive, so you really feel.
I
And
am
again,
highly sensitive.
yeah. Um, so you can really feel, and again, that can be quite daunting, especially being assertive in that, because you can feel the other person's reaction, right? And you will feel their discomfort. And it's just really sort of understanding that's not yours, that's theirs, and just making that separation. But it's also about sort of like, again, kind of not having that overly mental approach, which can come from this energy, and also just speaking up. So like the kind of like the throat chakra, just like kind of really being able to express yourself. As I said, conformity comes up with this. So it's not the you know, not saying anything because, kind of will just keep quiet and that will be okay. Um, and but with that balanced assertiveness, then that just gives you such freedom, because the 5-5 is spirit and freedom. That is what it is in its essence. And it's just almost like it just releases you of, kind of like this feeling of needing, again, that needing to conform and kind of like not unbalance anything for anybody else, but recognizing that just unbalances you. And once you sort of take control of your own sort of inner balance and actually make sure that that is respected, then yeah, it just gives you such freedom.
Freedom comes up a lot in my charts, like in my numerology as well. I've got lots of fives in there. And I was very much played to the rules
Yeah,
until I left to go traveling in when I was 21. I was
yeah,
very, I mean, I've always been good girl to a degree, but before then I was very good girl. I was like kind of highlight the textbook kind of at university and whatnot. Would do everything on time, never late. And it really was like actually going traveling and feeling more free that just set me off on the
yeah.
path that I know I was supposed to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's beautiful because that travel aspect, kind of opens up with the 22, that movement flow seeking. So you're going out, you're seeking, and also that spirit and freedom. So again, just kind of like almost unclipping your wings and just getting out there in the world and seeing, because like the 5-5 has a very visionary energy to it. And just that sense of exploring and yeah, getting to experience different cultures, different ways, but also just that freedom to be who you want to be. You've not got you've changed your environment, and that can be so powerful. um uh, I mean, you know, we do take ourselves with us, so that sometimes that can be really powerful, and then we get the awareness, oh no, this is still me. And but it's easier in a new environment, right? To, you know, to have that awareness and make those shifts. And, you know, certainly if we've got that self-awareness, which you do, Effie, then this is what we can bring through. We then have your spiritual talent, which is the 22-4. And again, this is beautiful. So this is completion and accomplishment. And what I wrote here is that the resources appear for you to get things done. So when you set your mind on something, so again, when you've got that Zen-like focus of like, right, this is what I'm doing, and you can almost see like kind of the completion point, and you can really lean into that, and you're leaning into it not from a state of lack, of like, oh, I'm not there yet. It's like it's done and
Yeah.
I'm going there. Then all of the resources, so this is the 4-4 energy that's associated with the 22-4, you know, just come to you. The universe goes, here you go, and lines everything up for you. And that's what's beautiful. And this is what you do then for others, because this is, you tune them into this energy of just like, right, let's look at where you're going. Let's really lean into that future self, that future vision that you have. Going to really connect you with that, and then just watch that as the resources drop in, because you're, you know, you're drawn and you're connected to that. They know, they have that feeling, and they know the next step. That's it, because that's all we need to know. And you can guide them on that next step, and then but build that trust that, you know, as they take that step, then everything is going to arrive for them.
I'm literally smiling ear to ear because this is exactly
Yeah,
what I do. And with all my
yeah,
one-on-one clients, the first thing we do is create a vision, create a
yeah,
vision for their future, for what they want in their life, like their biggest, boldest dreams. Let's let go of all the limits. And then it's how can we get into alignment so that you can co-create this with the universe? Because we do
yeah,
take one step and then, magic, it feels like magic happens.
yeah, totally. So as I said, there is a polarity with this energy. So it's the polarity 7, which is the grace connection complex. So this is beauty and ugliness. So now, in the positive, it'll always be seeing the beauty in the contrast, you know, the silver lining, you know, kind of all of that aspect, and being able to really draw into that energy. The awareness here is to almost not neglect the shadow side, like kind of honor and accept and respect and love it and embrace it and go, yes, because of the value that we know that it brings. As I said, the light is only visible with the darkness. Otherwise, how do we know it's light? We don't. So that's really that side of things, is just making sure that at all times that, yeah, we're not, you know, kind of, dishonoring sounds strong, but just not kind of avoiding or resisting any shadow aspects, because that can happen where we just want to see the light, just want to lean in,
That was me at
feel
the
the
start of the
beauty.
journey. It was like looking for all
Yeah,
the joy, and that was a
yeah,
great step. But then it was like,
yeah,
no, you've got 4 Scorpio placements in your chart too. You're really here for the deep inner work and
yeah,
transformation, and actually, like the shadows
yeah,
where like the magic happens.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love that you say that. And I think the aspects with this is just in and around self-worth, which I know is something that you will lean into yourself and also with your client. And again, just that mental confusion is not about the how do I get there. It's just the case of, I feel like I'm there, I know the next step, and it not getting stuck in that head of trying to work it all out, because that's not where the magic happens, as you know. um
Yeah.
Yeah. And then your spiritual goal, and then your spiritual destiny. So just as combined. So this is the 9-9. Now, this is just really having just this is a really powerful energy. So it's a really strong energy. It's really, and it's all about self belief, and it's like a real protection. Like there's a calmness, there's like a peacemaking. So the 9-9 is peacemaking, power, and protection. So it's really being in your own power, um, and really sort of cultivating that self belief, that organization. So just that this is what comes through. So that just that feeling that, you know, kind of being in control without controlling, as in controlling stuff that we can't control, because that we will get pulled in with this energy. They'll be just like, oh, I just want to get it. Like, can I just take control? Like, come on. And especially when working with clients, it will just be like, come on, like just wanting to steer the ship for them, and just knowing they're actually just coming back. And as you expand your energy, then this is it. And this will be what will be, is being in your energy will transmute a lot. And interestingly, that you said earlier about anger and frustration and not really feeling it, this energy, you can really transmute anger in a really healthy way. So what I will say is that actually you have with this is you can have a very calming effect on others. So if others are angry, then you have an ability not to react and to actually hold space, allow that anger to diffuse. They will diffuse, and then it's all nice and calm. The secret is that one is that actually being careful that we don't take on, so any kind of energetic practice to release, kind of boundary tapping, and again, that balanced assertiveness of just like, actually, do you know what? I can't keep on, kind of taking on this anger for you. But again, it is that expression of your anger, which I know is something that is there, because, and that sense of trust as well. So trusting in yourself, and that feeling of empowerment. So just feeling really strong and empowered. And what this is as the soul destiny is just that a really strong connection to divine truth, knowing that is ever expansive. Like the what you can know is just limitless, and just kind of really leaning in and cultivating that. So really connecting with full soul awareness and bringing in that divine truth just to like such a crazy level, that this is what sort of certainly is the soul destiny. It's absolutely calling you. And obviously you'll see with the 99, the symbol is very much like a serpent, so it definitely has kind of like dragon kind of serpent energy about it, but it's really catalytic. Like if you can tune into this, like it shifts all of the other energies in your chart. But again, it is about movement, because this energy, if you're stagnant, it is really heavy and like kind of quite like, oh. So it is about sort of like getting up and moving and just creating that protection of your own energy, and not sort of
It's
being
really
aware.
funny. I like movement's so good, but I'm in this period of time where I've got six broken bones in my feet that I'm like,
Yeah,
it's the challenge of, well, still being able to move, but not in the way that I usually do.
yes, indeed, absolutely. Well, I'd invite you, especially like a seated qigong practice would be
Ooh.
amazing, would be really, really good. And you can do so I teach Golden Spine 9 qigong, and you can absolutely do it seated, and it's a brilliant healing process. It's very grounding, but with all of kind of like the shaking off and the release aspect of it, then yeah, it kind of really helps to cleanse, clear, and activate that own inner energy. Because that's something that, as I said, I have the 99 as my worldly talent, and I know that I can hold space and I can, but I'm also very aware, and especially with your 5-5, and in some ways your 10-1 as well, like the ability to be sensitive to other people. And again, the 9-9 will bring that in. You'll feel it, and like kind of
Mm.
it's just a case of being having clearing practices, and kind of just that sense of letting go of anything that isn't your own. I don't know if you're like me, Effy, like sometimes I'll have an interaction at the time, I'll have felt fine and it'll have gone and it'll have all passed, and then all of a sudden, and it will be someone else's emotion, maybe I'm holding space for somebody, and actually it's not necessarily a client, because I think I'm really mindful with clients. It's actually more probably like friends, family, etc., day to day. And then I'll suddenly sit there like later on, and I'll be like, oh, what I feel. And then I'm like, oh, what's this? And of course, you can go into the, oh, what's, kind of what's made me. And then I just, the number of times I now sit there and go, is this mine? And I go, no, it's not mine. And it's just because I've just absorbed it just from an interaction where I've not maybe been as conscious as I am when working with clients.
Yeah, I feel that as well. Yeah, with clients, I feel like I really strict boundaries and like I know that this is not mine and it never takes anything from me, but I do feel similarly with it can be harder with people that I'm really close to in my life. But yeah, this has been so magic. I've absolutely loved hearing all about this and yeah, I'd love for you to share like how can people book in with you if they're like I need a soul plan reading.
Yeah, absolutely. So just on my Instagram, so at tuning into your soul, connect with me, reach out, and I can send you links to book. There's, and also happy to share information. You can book a clarity call or book in a session. As I've said, kind of the full soul plan activation is 90 minutes. I share a report with you, really deep dive, go on a beautiful journey where I can delve in a little bit deeper.
Yeah, that
Very
sounds
interactive.
magic. I'll
Yeah,
put
and
your
have a beautiful.
details in the link
Yeah,
below of
great.
this
Thank
podcast
you.
so people can find you easily. I would also love to share that I have a self-paced program being launched this week that is about discovering your purpose in this lifetime. So this is a program that I've run before and the women absolutely loved it, that I've done it in bite-sized chunks. It's all about connecting with your strengths, your values, your timeline and everything that's happened in your life so far, because all of these things can give you clues to what your purpose is. And at the end of the day, our purpose is to be authentically us. So it's coming back to
Yeah,
that. It's like letting go of our limiting beliefs. It is being able to step into our power, follow what we love, and listen to our intuition as well. So I've got like bite sized modules on all of these different topics, as well as we do dive into a little bit of numerology, human design, and astrology as well, because there's so many tools. Maybe I'm going to have to get you to record a workshop for me for the in the future to collaborate. And yeah, I think I need to share your magic further.
yeah, that would be amazing. I'd definitely be interested in looking at that. It'd be lovely to connect more for sure.
Amazing. So I'll also put the link below if anyone is interested in explore your purpose. And yeah, Gabby, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Effy. It's great to connect.
Yes. Thanks to everyone. Bye.
Bye.